Hello and a very warm welcome to Meghan and Harry News YouTube channel. Some stories flying around today about King Charles and Harry planning on having a meeting to apparently iron out their differences. Now, do you think this story is true, or is it yet more propaganda from the firm? Propaganda that once again uses Meghan and Harry to shoehorn members of the royal family into news articles that nobody would be interested in reading otherwise, if it wasn't for Meghan and Harry's name being attached. Exact date King Charles and Prince Harry will meet for peace talks is set, claims source, but it's highly unlikely Meghan Markle will be there. The King and his son will likely have peace talks in London, a source told OK. So this comes from OK magazine, which has a woefully bad reputation for writing absolute nonsense. It says here the exact date that King Charles and Prince Harry are likely to meet for peace talks has been revealed. But Meghan Markle isn't expected to be there, according to a well-placed source. Now, as I said before, when these articles say a well-placed source or an anonymous insider, it's usually the firm's PR team. And this story is designed to keep the royal family in the news, as has been stated on here many times before. The royal family have become very boring to the UK public, so they use Meghan and Harry constantly now to bring interest and attention to them. The negative attention is also to diminish their popularity while trying to falsely gain popularity for the tired royal family. That is why they constantly attempt to pour scorn on everything they do, because they are actually doing things unlike the firm. As such, it's thought that the pair could meet with one another in the hopes of smoothing out tensions within the royal family. Following the release of the Duke of Sussex's explosive memoir Spare and his wife's Netflix docuseries, staff are reportedly making plans for the peace talks to take place on September the 17th, ahead of the King's trip to France on September the 20th, a source told OK magazine. The source said King Charles is due to return to London from Balmoral in the middle of September, which ties in with the end of Harry's Invictus Games trip to Dusseldorf. The King has a rescheduled official visit to France on September the 20th, so has a few days to spare in London to meet with his son. Staff are trying to fine-tune the details as we speak. The insider added that Charles was also understood to have been upset by the claims his son made in his memoir Spare, particularly those concerning his wife Queen Camilla, who Harry felt had sacrificed me on her personal PR altar. If the talks take place, the King will make it very clear that there will be absolutely no private family business discussed in public moving forward, they told OK. Okay, so in my opinion, this story is completely and utter made-up nonsense, as most of these stories are, and the real reason behind it is that the firm are backpedaling, because the international smear campaign has been ongoing for 4 years now, is like a constant onslaught of negativity directed at them, from every corner. Because the smear campaign now looks so obviously orchestrated, arranged and staged, and the public are starting to wonder, why is there so much negativity against these two? Why and where is it really coming from? And many are looking at the firm. Then they put out these silly stories to say Charles is looking to have peace talks, or they will say Charles is offering an olive branch, or Charles has invited them to whatever. These stories exist in an attempt to fool the public into thinking Charles and the firm are trying to sort out the problem, when the reality is most probably quite the opposite, that it is quite possibly them whom all the trouble originates, and these stories are trying to disguise that. And once again we have another article that is basically trying to convince the public of something being the complete opposite of what it is. It is literally the direct opposite of the truth, and once again I will try to deconstruct this nonsense, dissect this article and pull it to pieces, which is very easy to do, and show you what it is. Although many of you on here will already know this, but it is quite amazing how these organisations can say things that are completely in reverse to what really happens. And they don't seem to care about integrity or their reputation. Even what they say now completely contradicts what they have said many times before. Here we see Harry and Meghan had support to succeed until they started throwing trash bombs. According to the Mirror's royal editor Russell Myers, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had a lot of public support when they quit their royal roles, but this quickly ran out when they tried to hurt the royal family. So this organisation is very much part of the international smear campaign against them that has been going on for 4 years now. Harry and Meghan had support when they left the royal family. Well, they certainly didn't have support from any of the media. Do you not remember the headlines that this paper printed? Do you not remember the incessant, unhinged and obsessive rants of the likes of Piers Morgan on Good Morning TV every day? The multitude of negative articles about how Meghan and Harry had blindsided the Queen, not forgetting that the reason they were leaving the royal family was because they were both depressed and harassed by the UK media and overseas media for a long time, even before they announced they were leaving, a negative smear campaign that was launched purely because they were so much more popular than the other members of the royal family, which was to be seen so obviously when they went to tour Australia. This popularity put the other members of the royal family's noses out of joint. They were jealous, so that is why an international smear campaign suddenly appeared to diminish their popularity. And this is what made them want to leave not only the firm, but also the UK. Yet here is this article claiming that they had support before they launched trash bombs. The trash bombs were coming from the firm and the international toxic media smear campaign, long before they left. It's only in the last year Meghan and Harry have released documentaries and a book, and that is self-defense. They had to tell their side of the story because of the astounding amount of lies put out by the toxic media in their never-ending crusade to tarnish their name. Yet here we see now 4 years later an article pretending to paint the picture that Meghan and Harry had support before they released a documentary and a book. They had nothing of the sort. The reality is that the firm and the international media have been lobbing orchestrated trash bombs at them numerous times a day, every day, for the past 4 years. All of this trash usually comes from an anonymous insider. They are most usually complete rubbish and fabricated, and some speculate that these anonymous insiders sometimes originate from the PR of the firm themselves. 4 years of trash bombs from the media, but here we see that the very same media telling you that they did nothing of the sort. The hypocrisy of the toxic media again is full on display with this one. Meghan Markle likely looking for a role that will solidify her in global elite. When someone says the global elite, it means the global elite is composed of the richest and most powerful individuals and factions in the world. We are talking about those who control the world. The kings, the emperors, one of those factions would be one of the richest families in the world. That would be the royal family. It says here there's ongoing speculation over what's next in Meghan Markle's career, and it has been suggested that her talent agency could be looking for a project to solidify her as a member of the global elite. This rubbish is printed in the Daily Mirror. The Daily Mirror is a mainstream toxic media platform and is most certainly part of the global elite. It's a propaganda machine for the global elite. It is regulated by the government, which is IPSO, and although IPSO pretends to regulate against illegal activities, what it really does is that it functions to tell these big media platforms what they can and can't talk about, which is they tell them what their agenda is. One of the agendas of these toxic media platforms is the 4 years now ongoing smear campaign against Meghan and Harry, a daily agenda to constantly badmouth them to print negative stories, not only in the UK but in other countries, specifically the USA and the Commonwealth countries such as Australia, New Zealand and Canada. The reason for this is because they've rejected the firm. They quit the royal family and started financing themselves. And this fact shines a huge spotlight on how the royal family functions. Their actions show that one of the richest families in the world still take money from every working person in the UK. This, of course, is completely unnecessary, and Meghan and Harry leaving and successfully financing themselves shows this. All the negative articles in the toxic media will never talk about this, because this is the one thing they don't want the public in the UK to address. And that is why there is an ongoing international negative media campaign against Meghan and Harry to make them figures of hate and to distract the public from ever thinking about that very obvious question: why are we paying for the royal family? And this smear campaign is all orchestrated by the global elite. And so when you see this article talking about how Meghan's solidifying her in the global elite, you know that it's the complete opposite of that, as the global elite and their media outlets are on a mission to destroy and tarnish them. It's them who are the global elite. Unlike any global elite, they don't like anyone who is a threat to them or who exposes their ways. It says here, it's been suggested that Meghan Markle may be looking for a project to solidify her position as a member of the global elite, amid speculation over her career moving forward. The rest of the article is your typical garbage you would expect, but I found it interesting that they would say that Meghan is part of the global elite, yet is attacked every day by the very same global elite, the firm who seem to have all these organisations constantly putting out negative stories, which make them seem unhinged and obsessed. Hello and a very warm welcome to Meghan and Harry News YouTube channel. The smear campaign embarrasses itself again. One of the royal rota's main henchmen, Richard Kay, is at it again with more embarrassing nonsense about how Charles is getting tough with Meghan and Harry. Newsflash, they left. Meghan and Harry, they quit and left. They left a long time ago. They don't care. They have long gone. They don't want to be part of the silly firm. They quit and moved to another country to get as far away from them as possible. These royal reporters cannot stop telling the masses how unimportant Meghan and Harry or how useless they are, or what a waste of time they are, yet at the same time they cannot shut up about Meghan and Harry. They talk about Meghan and Harry 100 times more than the other members of the royal family. How can two people who are so unimportant warrant so much attention? Doesn't make any sense, does it? One negative made-up story after another. I'm afraid the royal rota and the toxic media have been rumbled. The public see you for what you are. I know it's difficult for the toxic media. They have secret deals with the firm. They know Meghan and Harry get the clicks to please their advertisers, yet at the same time, the establishment does not want a good word said about them, and all because they are scared and insecure, because Meghan and Harry have shown the world the firm don't need to be taking money from the UK public. They showed the world that they can finance themselves, and this is what the royal family hate most of all, as it shows them up as greedy people. You can make up as many articles about Charles being ruthless and how they are going to be stripped of their titles, how they are being evicted from a cottage they haven't lived in for years because they don't live in the UK anymore. You can't evict tenants who left the property years ago. The property is vacant and you can't evict someone from an empty property. Just an endless roll of pitiful nonsense, tittle-tattle gossip, whatever they can muster in their tiny brains. But the fact is, nobody really cares or believes anything these organisations put out anymore. They've destroyed any credibility that they had, and to be fair, they never had any to start with. As we've been saying for a long time, this 4-year-long smear campaign against Meghan and Harry has shown the world how unhinged and obsessive the media are, and how insecure and unhinged and obsessive those who are behind the international smear campaign are. So here we have Richard Kay talking again about how Harry and Meghan need to be punished, sidelined, taken down a notch and rendered powerless. It says here that they are forbidden from using Royal Highness style in future. So what? If they wanted to be royal, they wouldn't have left and quit, would they? It goes on to say, those close to the royals, however, tell a different story. A visceral bitterness persists at the sustained attacks that Harry and Meghan have waged against family members through his memoir and their various television interviews. The only war being waged is the obvious smear campaign directed at Meghan and Harry. No amount of spin can make the doll seem lifeless. The firm and the royal family are as flat as a pancake, and the endless manufactured negative stories about Meghan and Harry prove this over and over again.